Raul Castro and Barack Obama in Havana. That was really something to watch. The political aspect of it was just kind of, I don't know, beyond weird. You know what was really the weird part to me? When Castro said that he would, which was not in keeping with his style, that he would take questions from the media, from the press. And one of the first questions was about political prisoners in Cuba. The question was from the CNN correspondent, Jim Acosta, about releasing political prisoners. And Castro said, I guess this was the translation, you never know. Did you ask if we had political prisoners? Did you ask if we had political prisoners? Castro then said he would release all of them if he was provided a list. He added, just mention the list. What political prisoners? Give me a name or names, or when after this meeting is over, you can give me a list of political prisoners. And if we have those political prisoners, they will be released before tonight ends. Now, the last time we provided them with a list, last year I think it was, the Cuban government released 50 political prisoners. It remains a fact, though, that the Cuban government continues to arrest people who speak out against the Castro government. We don't arrest people in this country for speaking out against the government. We arrest them for other reasons. We arrest them for having a little marijuana in their pocket, or we arrest them for just a number of reasons. But here's the thing. This is a part that was real upsetting to me when I watched that joint press conference this morning. For the United States to ask another country that obviously has political prisoners, if they have political prisoners, given what we do in Guantanamo, for example. Now, I guess the fine point here is that those are not American citizens who we torture at Guantanamo. Those are not American citizens whom we send to various countries to be tortured in order to get information. But we're a torture country now. And where it concerns political prisoners, which equals human rights abuses, if there is any government on earth that doesn't have a right to check out the mote in somebody else's eye, it would be the U.S. government. It would be us. Until we stop decimating countries and napalming people and poisoning people and dropping depleted uranium on their countries and creating millions of refugees along with a couple of million people dead. I mean, this is the bullshit that I can't stand. And the rest of the world, I'm sure they must. Somebody must. They listen to the self-righteous burbling that comes from the United States leadership, Democrat or Republican, and they must scratch their heads and say, what? What do they mean when they lecture Raul Castro about political prisoners, when the leader of the United States can order targeted assassinations? The leader of the United States can invade and has invaded with bombs and missile strikes 6 different Arab countries. I don't know. I don't know. The Foundation for Human Rights in Cuba keeps a running list of political prisoners being held there. And this evening, Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes said he gives lists of political prisoners to the Cuban government regularly. And he said, quote, there are certainly additional prisoners whose names we raise on a regular basis beyond the 53 that were released last year. But he added that long-term detentions have started to decrease, and the Cuban government has focused more on short-term detention. I don't make any excuse for people who are locked up, or for the governments that lock up people who express opposing views to that government. To me, that is one of the worst crimes, short of war and murder and death and shooting people down. Acts like that are one of the worst that a government can commit against their own people, as far as I'm concerned. But again, for the United States to lecture people about human rights abuses, or what about your political prisoners, seems to me to be the height of chutzpah, doesn't it? And when you consider that Cuba has had to deal with a 50-year-long embargo by the, to them, monster just north of them, the United States, 50-year embargo on everything. And with the collapse of the Soviet Union in the late 80s, their patron disappeared. When you live in a country, I would imagine, where you are treated as a pariah nation, you have a tendency, don't you, to become a bit paranoid. Plus, as Raul Castro pointed out, he asked, what do you consider to be political prisoners? Do you consider denying people health care an act of political violence against them? Do you consider denying people a free education an act of political violence against them?